First time on the Payless Liquors hotline. He is the head coach of the Indiana Pacers, and he is Rick Carlisle. Coach, good morning to you, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
We are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I'm curious from a coaching standpoint. You've been at this a long time, both as a player and a coach. How does it feel? Is it like the first day of school when you're a kid? Do you not really know what you're getting into? Is there an extra energy? What is the thought process or just the feeling when you embark on a new season?
Yeah, it's every year's a new feeling. With our team in particular, with all of the youth, it's going to feel that way for sure. There's a level of uncertainty with exactly what you have, and exactly how it's all going to go. But that's one of the beauties of professional sport. I think that's the compelling aspect of it for our fans. People that have followed us in preseason, I think, have seen a team with an amazing amount of promise, for the future and developmental upside, which is exciting. Admittedly, we'll be an underdog on a lot of nights, including opening night, I think, if you look at point spreads and stuff like that. But these are exciting challenges. We got really good guys, top to bottom, and just really looking forward to it. It's going to be a long, process of developing a young team with some really good veterans mixed in. But there appears to be an energy and excitement about this team that there hasn't been in a while in this town, and that's cool.
Coach, you just pointed to it there. Wednesday night, again, the opener with the Wizards. You are an underdog. I believe you've said in the past you've taken a look at the Vegas over-under for your win total this season. I'm curious what your thoughts were when you saw a number of 23.5, I believe, pegged for your basketball team.
Yeah, not shocked, because of all the new guys and, the fact that the Eastern Conference is pretty stacked, and if you look at the West now with, some guys coming back from injury and, some moves being made, et cetera, and some of the younger teams getting a little more veteran, it's going to be a beast out there too, so, but that's okay. I think it's something you look at and, okay, got to be realistic about kind of what the expectations are on the one hand. On the other hand, it's pretty motivating. I mean, you got, on virtually any night when you go out there, you got a chance to upset somebody, and that's something that I get excited about.
The franchise seems to me, Coach, a little bit like the arena that you're playing in. And by that I mean there has been a massive renovation to Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and it went in phases. Phase 1 was like the lower level, and then phase 2, and then phase 3, the exterior, etc. In terms of the retool of this franchise, and I don't think anybody has denied that that's what this is a reset and retool of your roster, your trajectory, etc. Are we in phase 1 still, or are you transitioning into phase 2, which is we feel pretty good about the guys we have, now we've got to see what combinations work, or are there still pieces that need to be added for another year?
Well, there are pieces that need to be added. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And in terms of whether it's phase 1 or phase 2, look, there may be 4 or 5 phases to this. It's hard to say exactly. And I think we've all seen, franchise resets or rebuilds happen a lot quicker than expected too. So we'll have to see for sure. But Halliburton is a great young player. Turner is elite defensively at what he does. Heald is elite offensively at what his specialty is, which is shooting the three. And he's just, he's really just a knockdown shooter. And McConnell is a really unusually gifted player at what he does, which is, he's just unconventional. But he brings an intensity and, an energy to the game, and he makes things happen. And he's, I think if you look at our training camp, if you were in here every day, if you're Tyrese Halliburton, you're looking forward to getting into the season, not having to play against McConnell every day. I mean, it's really a beast, because the guy, he just brings such a competitive, thing to the practice every day. So, and then our young guys, Isaiah Jackson and Duarte have both gotten significantly better. We feel Matherin has got a chance to be a special player in this league. Nemhard was a really good pick at 31. Kendall Brown at 48 was a steal. And I think a guy like Neesmith has got a really unique opportunity here. He's been sitting in Boston for 2 years, where they've been pretty veteran. They've been younger, but their younger guys are more veteran than him, so he hasn't had a lot of chances. So, he played real well in that first game at Charlotte, then he got dinged up a little bit in New York. So, we're trying to see if he's going to be available for Wednesday. And Jalen Smith is a guy that gets me excited and I think should get our fans excited. I mean, here's a guy that had a lot of other options and chose to be in Indiana and chose to do it for probably a few less dollars than he could have gotten elsewhere. So, this is all part of the challenge for us, is, putting together a group of talented young guys that have a chance to get better and better, that are excited about being here, and so that's where we want to be. That's kind of where we feel we are, and we want to move forward from here.
Let me present a scenario for you, Coach. Rick Carlisle's our guest on the Payless Liquors Hotline. It's midway through the season, and you've got a group of players on the floor, and you like the way they're playing together. They're in a close game. You're midway through the third, heading into the fourth quarter. And you know that you probably have the guys on your bench, your starters or whatever it may be, that give you the best chance to win that game. But you have a group of players on the floor that you still feel like, and the organization still feels like, you've got to see how they handle that situation together as part of the process of moving forward to see what all you have in totality with your team. So in the short term of that game, it may cost you that particular game, but in the long term, it helps you in the vision of who you are. Hoping that scenario makes sense that I'm presenting. Which way do you go with it? Which is the priority?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of question is not unexpected from this show, number one.
Well, thanks. I take that as a compliment.
I was going to say, is that a compliment? I don't know.
And I figured you would take it as a compliment. That's okay, and that's good. That's good. Look, I know where you're going with this, and the answer is whatever is the right thing at that time. And I can't take a question like this and give you an absolute answer. I mean, what's happened in the last 5 games? Where are we? Who's banged up? Who's healthy? There's a lot of things that go into that. But look, I have said that I am in this to help develop this young group of guys. And the reset of this roster was really important because it was a roster before. I mean, there was a lot of polarizing conversation about Domas and Miles, whether these guys could play together, whether they should play together, whether people believed it was a good idea that it was even being attempted or not. And part of the irony of that whole thing was that those two guys together were one of our best lineups last year. I mean, it was a plus lineup and everything else. And then Miles got banged up, and then things kind of went, south with the season even more than it had been going, because we had other guys that were banged up too, and this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden we have the opportunity to trade for Halliburton and really reshape the team. And I really thought Kevin and Chad and Kelly and Ted did a great job of, turning this from a team that didn't have much of a future to a team that does have a future. And now, it's the job of me and the rest of my coaching staff to nurture this group along, to coach them hard, but with respect and consistency, and try to bring about daily improvement. And, we do those kinds of things. Your question will be answered the way it's supposed to be answered at whatever date of the season. Jake, you didn't give me the date. What was the date of that game?
March 17th.
Okay, and who are we playing?
Washington.
Washington. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't looked at the schedule in front of me, but you get what I'm going at. What I'm saying is, I think people need to understand, and you tell me if I'm off base here, but I think people need to understand if they come to games this year that there are going to be nights they're seeing like this dynamic team that you think like, wow, they've arrived right now, and then there are other nights that you're going to say, well, wait a minute, they looked great 2 nights ago, not tonight, but it's all part of a work in process towards a longer vision of just the immediacy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and listen, I guess I give Indiana basketball fans more credit than you do. I think people just kind of inherently understand that to begin with. So I don't know that question even needs to be asked, but I appreciate you asking it. But I think our fans are there, and I guess what I've gotten from kind of the pulse of the city and so on and so forth is that, people are excited about youth. They're excited about a team that, is not going to be last in dunks, in mid-January like we were last year. When we made the trade and started playing Isaiah and started playing some of our younger guys, we went from last in dunks, I don't know where we ended up, but we were out of last, And, this year, with Jalen Smith back and with Isaiah and with, Mathurin and Neesmith and Duarte and some of these young athletes, it's going to be a fun team to watch. And there'll be times when, if fans are only fixated on winning a particular game on a given night, they may be a bit frustrated, but as the leader of this thing, in terms of on the court, et cetera, I've got to have a good pulse on what's right and what's wrong on a night-to-night basis.
He's Rick Carlisle. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline, less than 36 hours away from the Pacers getting their season underway. And Coach, Jake told me you've maybe caught a snippet or two of this show, and if you have,
3 minutes at a time.
Okay, three minutes. Okay, in those 180 seconds, hopefully you've heard my love, maybe borderline obsession for Benedict Mathurin. You said something, I think it was last week, that I found really interesting, that you believe Mathurin's game at this level, basically he's better suited for more of the NBA game than the collegiate game. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, an athlete like him is, in most cases, this is assuming that his skill level is, NBA skill level and things like that. The NBA game is more of a 5-out spread offense. The defense is spread out. College still has, no zone, no rules, against zone defense. And so I just think the space of the game, the pace of the game, for an athlete like him, is going to be something that he's going to do well with. And look, he's been terrific. on day one, he said to me, "Coach, I just want you to know you can coach me hard. I want to be coached hard. I can handle the truth. I want to get better." And he's come to me on 3 or 4 occasions, including that first time, usually about a month to a month and a half apart, and he reiterates the same thing. And if you're a coach in this league and a guy with that kind of youth and talent, I mean, it gets you even more excited.
Rick, I know wins and losses are not the end-all be-all by any means this season and playoff success. It's probably another couple of years away from being super, super relevant with where you're at as a franchise. But do you feel like, and I don't know, maybe it's a ludicrous question, do you feel like you have anything to prove to yourself, to anybody else, in terms of playoff success here as you kind of reach this? I don't know if this is the final stop in your coaching career, but playoff success has not been there at the level for your teams over the past decade as it was earlier in your career. Do you feel like there's anything left to prove in that area?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you're in this business and you don't feel like you have something to prove every day, then you should not be in this business. That's the way I feel about it. And as long as I've been in it, I'm still very much an active learner. And the reason I hired the staff that I hired, a bunch of younger, really talented coaches, Lloyd Pierce, Ron Norrid, Mike Weiner, Jenny Busick. I mean, every day our meetings are a think tank. I mean, we're talking about things that are the basics that, would be consistent going back, decades, and and things on the cutting edge, and balancing, figuring out what the right balance is between the two. But you've got to. This is just my feeling. You've got to come in every day feeling like you've got something to prove, whether you're coaching, whether you're playing, whether you're part of the training staff, whatever. And if you're not, you're going to get left behind.
Was there a particular time, Coach, when you guys kind of all sat down and said, you know what, let's retool this thing? Did it kind of morph over the course of time, or was there a definitive moment or, game or whatever it might be, and did you have to be sold on it of the way the things are going now?
No, I didn't have to be sold on it. I mean, it was in December last year at some point. I don't remember exactly when it was. It was probably more, toward the second half of the month. It was a struggle. It just wasn't working, and it wasn't, it was a little bit about the injuries, but, there was a bigger sort of outlook than that really triggered it. And and then from there, it was just a matter of, okay, what is the right thing to do? When will whatever the opportunity is present itself? And so, a lot of it obviously ended up being the trade with Sacramento. And then, in conjunction with that, I don't know if it was the same day or maybe it was a day later or something, we made the trade to move Torrey Craig back to Phoenix for Jalen Smith. And then, things just started retooling from there. But there was no doubt that was the right path for this franchise to take.
How close in your inner circle is Bruce Hornsby? Because I like Bruce Hornsby a great deal, and I've always heard that you guys are like best friends, and then I didn't know if that's, embellished a little bit in your acquaintances. You're from the same area. I know you're like from New York and Maine, and you played in Virginia, and he's from Virginia. Like, how tight are you? Like, how often do you talk to Bruce Hornsby?
Well, we stay in touch pretty frequently, and he's a very close friend. His son, Keith, played at UNC Asheville and then transferred to LSU.
Yeah, he was a good player.
And then when he came out of LSU, he was a little banged up from some of the postseason tournament stuff. And so I spent some time with him, trying to help him get ready for whatever camp opportunities he was going to have. And it ended up he came into camp with us in Dallas and did a really good job. Actually won a preseason game for us, and then he played in the G League for a couple of years, and then has had a very successful run in Europe. So, but Bruce actually texted me yesterday, just with kind of a good luck this season message, and which I appreciated. And but we stay pretty closely in touch. Obviously we have similar musical interests. He's been a big, big influence musically on me. I mean, I'm a novice piano player, which some people know and whatever, but his music has been a big part of that for me. And so, yeah.
Are you a Deadhead?
That's kind of it. Oh, I love the Dead. Yeah.
What about Fish? You like Fish?
I have listened to some Fish, yes, and I'm an admirer of their music and what they do. They're very, very good, and I've listened to enough of it to gain an appreciation for and an understanding for how what they do is different than what the Dead used to do. And now Dead and Company is out there, and I've been to some of their stuff, and I got to know those guys because Bill Walton was a close friend, because he and I played together in Boston, and I ended up going to 20 or 25 shows back in the 80s, and when Jerry was still around and stuff like that. And now Dead and Company, with John Mayer playing with them, I mean, they're phenomenal, so they've kept it going.
Well, Coach, given those musical interests, we greatly appreciate you finding time, just a couple of minutes each morning to tune in when you get a chance.
3-minute increments, Kevin.
We are 22nd ranked in the mid-market rankings. Our over-under in wins is pretty low. Any advice for us, you think, to try and rise up those rankings here as we close things out?
What rankings are these?
Well, these are the mid-market rankings. So, us, similar to like an Oklahoma City maybe, or San Antonio. Think, kind of mid-market cities around the U.S. We're 22nd out of 20. Is it 27 or 28?
28, yeah.
28 shows.
In size or what?
Yeah, I believe in ratings.
Effectiveness.
Yeah, educating and entertaining. So we're hoping for a little advice.
First of all, I don't know that I'd be advertising it on your own show. That's one thing I may caution you about. No, I don't know. It's really interesting. Coming here and being in my second year now, and following the Colts again, and listening to whichever the shows happens to be on after. The Colts have had a rough game or something. Man, it's just like the world is coming to an end. And I just want to say that, I've been watching all the games. I'm just a really big fan of what Frank Reich is doing right now with this team. I see the challenges that they have. And I tell you that game 2 days ago was something else. You talk about intense, and they're finding a way to do it on grit and guts. I mean, doing it without Jonathan Taylor the other day and a couple of their receivers. I mean, that was phenomenal. So I'm following them closely, and so I just wanted to throw that out there. Sorry, thanks.
Well, I appreciate you tuning in.
Jerry says clearly Rick is not a fan of yours. He didn't seem too thrilled with the questions. Come on now. I
love the questions. I mean, look, the questions they're a little different, but that's good. That's good. I'm all for being challenged in new ways.
So are we. That's why we're trying to move out of 22nd.
Exactly. Coach, I've got 30-ish wins pegged for you this season. I know it's going to be a year of growth, and looking forward to it. It's hope. It's a new era. I think it's excitement and a lot of curiosity, and it's a great thing to have for the Pacers fan base. Appreciate the time this morning, and good luck tomorrow night.
Okay, thanks, guys. Be well.